The Arts Office, Waterford City and County Council is pleased to announce that the winner of the Keane Creative Writing Award 2025 is Laura Cassidy from Cork City for her short story, Digs. Warmest congratulations, Laura. I'm really pleased for you. Digs. Microwaves. 27 of them were stacked beside the couch. Dermot counted while he waited for Frank. They hadn't been there when he'd viewed the room. It was Frank's wife, Shirley, who'd shown Dermot around the big bungalow while her twin girls trailed behind, gazing up at him with wide-eyed suspicion. "There you are now," said Frank, placing a milky tea and 2 fig rolls on the coffee table. Its glass top was stained with something sticky. "Herself should be back soon." When Dermot had been waitlisted for campus accommodation, he pleaded with his mum to let him rent with the other students in town. But because of what had happened to Mick, she'd insisted that Dermot either live in halls where there was a 24-hour security or in digs with a family who'd look out for him. Even now, his brother was causing him hassle. He'd asked Mick to put a word in for him with the universe to fix it that a place would come available in halls soon. "Engineering, is it?" said Frank as he flicked through the channels. A presenter was talking about a case of spontaneous combustion in the West. "That's right," said Dermot through a mouthful of biscuit. "Building bridges?" Dermot forced the laugh he reserved for adults. He was studying electronic engineering, but reckoned Frank wouldn't be interested in the specifics. Dermot wasn't that interested himself. His real passion was poetry. He sensed his own poetic efforts were juvenile and derivative, and was unsure how to improve. But he knew he was at least circling something, that if he kept writing, kept reading, one day he'd feel a crack open for him, like a fresh egg on the pan. His dad, however, had other ideas. Dermot had only entered the Leinster Junior Coder competition to placate him. Computers had always been Mick's thing. Any plans Dermot had to spend his college days analysing Elizabethan sonnets were thwarted the day Mary Mack handed him that trophy. He could always join the Literature Society, his mother had said, as she'd helped pack his things into a kit bag that had belonged to his brother. Like Dermot, she led a life of compromise. He'd left the trophy behind. It had a similar sheen to the microwaves. "If you don't mind me asking," said Dermot, "why do you have so many?" Frank reclined in his chair, chest puffed out. "I did a job for a developer in Laois, plastered a load of corporate apartments for him. That was 18 months ago. The units are all empty. The complex has been repossessed, and your man has scurried off to Nerja with his checkbook. So I went down at the weekend and took every microwave out of the place, loaded them into the van." "How come?" "The washing machines were a bit bulky." "What do you do with them?" asked Dermot. Frank shrugged. "I might sell a few, but I'll probably end up giving them away. Ask your mother if she wants one. I gave one in next door, even though the dubs do my head in." Out the bay window, Dermot could see the neighbours' well-kept lawn. They had an array of garden ornaments, a tire swing on a crabapple tree, a low fence painted an obscenely bright yellow. "They bought the house a year ago for cash," said Frank. "Drug money, I reckon." Dermot's stomach knotted. Involuntarily he thought of the inquest, the 4 syllables in misadventure. The front door clicked open and Shirley appeared in a peplum dress, blonde hair and waves past her shoulders. "Dermot," she said, her smile wide, "I'm sorry I wasn't there to greet you." "That's all right. And I'm sorry about the state of the place." She shot Frank a look, but he was focused on the telly, where the presidential candidates stood in a semicircle, talking over each other about entrepreneurs and the Ra. "Come on, so," said Shirley, "let's get you settled in." Dermot had walked the town, handing out CVs after registration, and was rummaging in his satchel for his key when the neighbour pulled up with his ride-on lawnmower. "Did they adopt you or what?" "Sorry," said Dermot. "Do you live here, son?" He nodded. I'm in digs. I was wondering. The man extended a tattooed arm across the fence. Ned Garvey, he said. Dermot Donovan. I don't suppose you've come across Geraldine in there, Dermot. Would that be Shirley's sister, or... Ned shook his head, gestured to his collection of garden gnomes. There was a gap in the front row. Myself and your landlord had a little disagreement a few months ago, an issue with the boundary. It all got a bit out of hand. Oh, right. Frank took it a step too far. I know he took Geraldine. She's limited edition, part of a set. The missus thinks I'm crack, but I know he has her. There's a cash reward for whoever brings her back to me. I'll have a look later, said Dermot, purely to extract himself from the conversation. Make sure you have a good look, said Ned. I'd say he has our wellhead. The following Thursday, Shirley brought the girls to see their grandparents, and Frank headed to the pub at the crossroads. Dermot had intended to look up an ISIS video one of the lads had mentioned in the lab, but he walked past his bedroom instead, feeling his heart beat in his ears. He pushed open one of the doors. The air smelled like Shirley. He rummaged under the king-size bed and then in the walk-in wardrobe. In the dresser, there was a hot water bottle, a good news Bible, and some silicone contraptions he wished he could unsee, but no sign of Geraldine. Dermot was up late that night working on a poem and procrastinating on his first assignment. After 2 a.m, he heard Shirley's voice down the hall. It sounded different. Have you forgotten what you promised? You said no matter how bad it got, you wouldn't leave us again. Sure, it won't be forever, love, said Frank. These things move in cycles. If I don't do something, they'll take the house. I thought you'd be delighted to get a break from me. Dermot turned the volume up on his iPod until its earbuds drowned out Shirley's sobs. He thought of Mick's teammates lining the path to the family plot. The sound of his mother made when the dirt hit the coffin. Dermot still hadn't been able to cry. The days were getting shorter, and the walk to campus seemed to be getting longer. Dermot hurried along the back road in his high-vis. His asthma was flaring up again, and there was still no word on halls. Frank had gone to find work in Melbourne, and Shirley's mood reminded Dermot too much of home. He'd forced himself to make small talk with his classmates, but was yet to make anything resembling a friend. It wasn't all desolate, though. He'd enrolled in a workshop hosted by the college writer-in-residence. Miraculously, he had a haiku accepted by the literary magazine. The weakest in a submission of 6 poems, Dermot thought, but who is he to question the esteemed editor? He was waiting to hear about a shelving assistant job at the Humanities Library, which he wanted so much it hurt to think about. To be paid to handle those books would be unreal. He asked Mick to put a word in for him with that too. Dermot was asleep on top of his duvet on a late November afternoon, having nodded off while scrolling Reddit. He dreamt he was dining in Dublin Castle, seated between Seamus and the Queen. But as dessert was served, there was a knock on his door. Come in, he said, clambering up. Sorry to interrupt your studying, Dermot, said Shirley. I promised the girls we'd put the tree up today, but I can't bring myself to go into the attic. Frank usually gets the decorations down. I can give you a hand, no bother, said Dermot. He felt unsteady, climbing the folding stairs up into the darkness. The girls shrieked with excitement below. With a flick of a switch, a buzzing bulb lit the rafters yellow. Dermot pushed some boxes marked Halloween aside. He froze when a pair of tiny eyes stared back at him. The tip of her little terracotta hat was chipped, her face dirtied with dust. Geraldine. Dermot tried his best to avoid Ned for the next few days, but he cornered him in Julio's on Saturday night while he waited for his snack box. Any sign of her, said Ned, towering over Dermot. in the Ireland away jersey, his eyes glassy and feral. Dermot swallowed. Afraid not. The chance are probably brought her to Oz. I wouldn't put it past him. Dermot's order was ready, but his card wouldn't work. The guy said he'd try again, that it could be the machine, but Dermot told him to leave off. The bank probably took fees out, he muttered. Glorified gangsters, said Ned, staggering forward and pressing a crispy 50 into Dermot's palm. Oh no, I feel sorry for Frank, really, said Ned, still gripping Dermot's hand. I'd be down there with the koala bears myself if Kathleen hadn't kept paying into the syndicate behind my back. Marry someone who doesn't take your advice, Dermot. That's the best advice I can give you. The guy behind the counter shouted, Salt, vinegar. Yeah, bud, said Frank, plenty of vinegar. On the first day of December, Dermot made his way sleepily down the hall. His parents were coming to pick him up for his cousin's wedding in Wicklow. Dermot hoped his mother wouldn't have too many G&Ts at the afters. The relatives would say, who could blame her? But Dermot wouldn't be able for her dance moves. He loosened his tie as he sat down at the table. The winter coats were piled on Frank's chair, and the radio was tuned to the 9 a.m. news. The twins were chasing each other around the kitchen island, brandishing tinsel. Shirley was at the hob, her hair limp and eyes puffy. She looked like a bad avatar of herself, and Dermot wished things could be different for her. He thought about writing her a haiku to cheer her up, but decided she'd been through enough. You look so dapper, Dermot, she said, and he reddened. On Sunday morning, he'd attempted to give Ned back the change from the chipper, but Ned claimed to have no recollection of running into him. He said he never went to Julio's, that their chips were manky, and that he didn't have 50s to be throwing around. You must be confusing me with someone else, son. So Dermot had put the money towards a decent suit. He was due to start in the library on Monday and felt it was he who had won the lotto. I love a wedding, said Shirley. I wish I could go back and do mine all over again. I was too stressed on the day to enjoy it. 1 or 2 rashers, Dermot. 2, please. Dermot was ambivalent about weddings, but he made sure to sign all the online petitions calling for a marriage referendum. Mick would be impressed with that. Dermot signed the ones for the legalisation and regulation of drugs too, although he wasn't holding his breath. His phone buzzed. He presumed it was his mother checking if he was up and dressed, but the number was unfamiliar, so he didn't answer it. Later on, while hiding out of the hotel room, Dermot looked the digits up online. The number was listed on the college website, Campus Accommodation Services. Mick sometimes took his time getting round to things, but for Dermot, he always came through.